Hello and welcome to Dulce Aroma. For today's video we're going to be making a citrus soap with embeds. So this soap is quite a unique one because it has two faces. So as you can see, there are lemons or slices of citrus fruits on the top and on the bottom. This soap is made using shea butter as well. So we've added shea butter to the white melt and pour soap that we're using, and yeah, that just adds a little bit more nutrients to the soap for our skin. So in this soap tutorial, we're going to be making the big soap bars that you can see here on the right hand side, and we're also going to be making one of the small bars. At the end of the tutorial, we're also going to be making the lemon slices without a mold. So if you don't have a mold to make these lemon slices, you can still make this tutorial. To make this tutorial or the soap project, we're going to be needing 12 slices of fruit, which you can choose the colors of course, but we are going for green, yellow, orange and red. We're going to be needing 200 grams of clear melt and pour base, 175 grams of white melt and pour base, all of the colorant powders, of course, of your choice, 10 grams of any essential oils or fragrance oils that you're wanting to use for your soap. We chose lemon verbena for this project, and 10 grams of shea butter. Alright, so this is what all of our ingredients look like, and as you can see, we have the slices already prepared, and we used the pink molds here on the right hand side as well. The mold that we're going to be needing for the big soap bars is actually a box of a cell phone that we had lying around. So for this video we wanted to be a little bit more resourceful and find different ways to make soaps without necessarily using soap. And we use these little clips just to hold it in place, but otherwise you can use tape as well. Cool, so these are the molds that we have for the lemon slices. You can get molds like this off AliExpress or eBay. We'll list some in the description below. Cool, and to start off with, you have to pour a really small amount of white around the outside of the mold and also in the main ridges, so all throughout the mold. But try and keep each little division clear because that's where we want the color to come through. So do that to both molds, and you'll see a little bit later that they have a slightly different finish. So with the spatula, just move the color around and try and keep each little segment as clear of the white so you can still see the color coming through. Cool, and then when that has set, you pour the color of your choice in the middle and top it up. Let that set. And always spray alcohol on top of any surface that you've done, just to make sure that, that there's no bubbles on the top. Cool, so this is what this mold looks like. And this is what this mold looks like. So slightly different. The one on the right has a little bit more white than we would have liked, but yeah, that's just an example. So here we've got them pre-prepared for you to have a look at. So for this project, we actually had only purchased one of each mold of the little lemon slices. I recommend, if you're going to be remaking this and possibly selling it or plan on making more than one of these soaps at a time, to buy a few molds, preferably probably about even 5 molds, because it can be really time consuming to be making up all these lemon slices, and yeah, it can make the task a little bit more difficult. And we want to keep this fun, so if you have more than 2 molds, then you know the process will be a little bit more enjoyable and not as time consuming. So here is a little diagram of basically the construction of the soap. So we have in between each of the slice layers, we have 40 grams of clear melt and pour base. So from the bottom we start with 40 grams of clear base, then the fruits, and then another 40 grams of the clear base, which will seal the fruit, and then it won't be able to move around, and also because it's clear, hopefully it won't be moving the color around or anything like that. And then when those have set, we add the 150 grams of the white melt and pour base, which is enriched with the shea butter. When that has set, we add 40 grams of the clear melt and pour base. When that's set a little bit more, we add the fruits on top, which are facing up, of course. And then lastly, we add the 40 grams of clear base. So it's a bit of a soap lasagna, but we'll show you step by step basically how it goes. Alright, so starting off the first layer of our clear melt and pour base, we've put this into the microwave. Our microwave heats up our melt and pour usually between 10 to 30 seconds. Try not to overheat your melt and pour, particularly if you're using a clear base. We are using just a transparent melt and pour, not an ultra clear, because we didn't have that available from our soap supplier. If you can get an ultra clear, that is easier to use. You don't have to be as careful as you have to be if you're just using a transparent one, because if you overheat it sometimes goes a little bit milky or a little bit cloudy. So make sure to not overheat it. Okay, so now we're checking the temperature, and we need it to be at about 50 degrees Celsius, no hotter than that, because especially when you're doing multiple layers, that can melt the previous layer, and it can also affect the transparency of your melt and pour. Okay, here we've added the drop of vitamin E and the essence that we're using, or the fragrance oil. And also look at the preservative that you're using. In this video, we're using vitamin E, which works quite well. And we've found it to be a better preservative for clear base than GeoGuard, which is our usual preservative. But that one actually tends to make clear base a little bit milky. So for today's project, we've chosen to use vitamin E instead. When you're adding that to a project, you only need about a drop in your melt and pour that you're using, because it's a very small amount. And just bear in mind that this bottom layer is not going to have perfectly square edges because of the baking paper, and that's totally fine. When we finish the soap, we're going to grab a knife and we're going to fix up all of the edges and make it tidy. So just bear in mind that it's not going to be perfect to start off with, but that's fine. We'll correct it afterwards. Okay, so luckily this box had a lid, which is, roughly the same size as the bottom piece, and so we first laid out all of the citrus layers that we wanted, all of the slices, to see exactly how we want them laid out. It's better if you do that and you choose, ahead of time how you want them, because it can be quite stressful when you're, in the middle of your project and trying to work out how you want it to look. But yeah, make it as, it's totally up to you the way you want to organize all the slices and all the colors, but this is the way we've chosen to do ours. Both sides are not identical, but we like that. We wanted it to be slightly, different on either side. Cool. Once those are nicely laid out and sprayed with alcohol, each slice was sprayed with alcohol, we added about 40 grams of clear base on top. So that's going to seal the fruits and keep them still. Cool. And then you spray alcohol on top to pop any bubbles. And we will let that sit. Okay, and now we are laying the top layer of our fruit slices. And we cut some of our slices in quarters and in halves, but of course you can cut them into even smaller pieces, or if you have a bigger mold, have more, larger pieces or full slices, but this is what would fit inside our mold. Okay. So now we're going to be mixing the shea butter into our white melt and pour base. This is completely optional. You don't have to do this at all. But shea butter, is a really popular ingredient in a lot of beauty products nowadays. And and it's also really, really great for your skin. So we thought it would be a nice addition to this really beautiful soap. So you have to mix it really, really well to the melt and pour base, but you don't have to melt it ahead of time. It will melt inside your melt and pour that you've already heated up. Make sure that you get this to about 50 degrees Celsius before you pour it on top of your mold. So here we're checking the temperature of that. Now we're adding the vitamin E, or the preservative of your choice, and the fragrance oil or essential oils. Give it a good stir, and sometimes this the preservative or the fragrance oil can actually make your melt and pour set a little bit faster. If it has, just put it back in the microwave for another 10 seconds, heat it up again a little bit, and yeah, just enough for it to move around and for you to be able to pour it in. Make sure you spray it with alcohol. In between every layer you must spray alcohol. That will make sure that all of the layers sit and glue together, so they actually fuse together, otherwise they'll easily peel apart. We spoke about this in our video from last week where we made a sailor soap with a similar process, melt and pour process. Cool, so to start this off, we put the middle lemon slice. I find that it's easier to guide myself if I put the middle one there. And now we're placing all of the slices facing up. So in the first layer we put them all facing downwards because of course they're going to face outwards, and now we're facing upwards. Cool, when you're happy with your arrangement and when your white melt and pour base is fully set, of course, we lay all of our fruit out and we pour our last layer of clear melt and pour base. So here we've got it melted. Make sure to add the fragrance and the vitamin E to it. Check the temperature. Again, we're wanting it around 50 degrees Celsius or below. Of course, liquid enough to be able to pour it comfortably, but you don't want it to be too hot because sometimes it can actually melt your embeds. So just, yeah, be cautious with that. We spray a bit of alcohol just to pop any surface bubbles. Sprayed a bit more alcohol. You can never have too much alcohol. Cool. And now we're pouring the last layer of transparent melt and pour base. This project's really beautiful. A lot of people actually think that these slices are real fruits. So that's pretty cool. But it's not. It's definitely all soap. Awesome, look at that, that looks lovely. And it's clear. Cool, so we've let that set at room temperature. Of course you can put it in the fridge, but we recommend to leave it out at room temperature. And now we're going to take it out of the mold. And the baking paper makes it a lot easier to take out. So as you can see, the edges are not perfect, but don't worry, that's totally normal. We're going to fix that with a knife. Okay, so we grab a potato peeler just to round the edges. That's something that I actually recommend that you do with most of your soaps, cold process as well. Sometimes we've had customers say to us, you know, when we haven't rounded the edges that they're a little bit sharp to start off with. So it's always nice to do. And you can always save those edges and make your laundry detergent out of any scraps of soap. So here we are cutting off all the sides that are slightly uneven, just to polish off the soap. What I did off camera as well is I actually cut a thin layer on of the clear base on the top and on the bottom as well, just to get that really even, but that can be a little bit tricky to do. I recommend to do it when you've cut your soap bars into the desired size that you want, because if you're cutting the whole bar and trying to cut a thin layer off the top, it can be quite challenging. So all of these little scraps, don't throw them away. You can totally make laundry detergent out of this. We have a video tutorial which I will be translating. I have it in Spanish on our channel. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. We have lots of different videos and projects that we make, which I'm sure will interest you. And now what we're going to do with the leftover slices that we have is we're going to make a soap bar, which is more of a hand soap size. Cool, so we've filled this mold with the leftover white melt and pour base that we have right up to the top. The reason we've done this is because if you leave a thicker layer of clear base with the lemons or the slices in that, during the use of the soap it can go a little bit cloudy. So we've decided to just make the clear base a really, really thin layer so you can see all the lemons very clearly, all the fruit slices really clearly, yeah. Cool, so we let the white melt and pour base set, and then we put the lemons on top. We sprayed alcohol in between the layers, and then we put the melt and pour base on top. Another alternative is you can use berries. If you have a berry mold or a little round mold, you can do that like we did in the one that you can see there on the screen. And one of our friends gave us beautiful organic lemons and limes and oranges from her garden, so we put them here in the video because we thought they looked so lovely. So yeah, you don't have to do this with just lemons or citrus. You can spice things up if you have a different mold, or be creative with the colors that you use. Some can be, I don't know, it could be grapefruit flavored. Cool, so this is how I'm going to show you that we've made the lemon slices without using the lemon slice molds. So you need 2 circles, one a little bit smaller than the other. You can use a cup like this and a lid like this. You can use the bottom bit of the cup and the top bit of the cup. Totally up to you. In this situation, we're using a cupcake mold and a muffin mold, because they are, obviously similar, but one is a little bit smaller. So what you do is you make a very thin layer of melt and pour, which is actually white melt and pour that we've colored yellow, and then you slice it in half, and then in quarters, and then in eighths. After you cut it into eighths, you pop it in the bigger mold like so. And then you fill the middle of all of your segments with white melt and pour. Do this very gently and it will slowly disperse throughout the mold. Move the mold around and make sure to get the white melt and pour all around the edges of the yellow segments. Now this is not perfect, but it's another way to make the lemon slices. If you don't have the mold and you want to try this out, you totally should. It's fun, we shouldn't feel limited by the molds that we have in our studio. We should be creative and be resourceful, and that's a really beautiful part about soap making. So yeah, this was our little interpretation of being resourceful and figuring out a mold out of things that we already had in the house. It's a cool thing to do with kids as well, to cut up little segments and stuff. Cool, so when you're finished, this will be what your segment will look like, your slice of lemon, will look like. Obviously, it's not going to be super tidy, so you can finish it off with a knife and just make sure that everything is a little bit cleaner. Thank you so much for watching our video. My name is Manuela and I make these videos with my mum. We upload videos weekly in Spanish and in English of all different types of soap making projects, cold process, hot process, melt and pour process, and more. If you like what we do, please let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate all the feedback that we've been receiving, and we really want to know what you guys want to see. So if there's any projects in particular that you want to see, let us know what those are, and we will make it, we'll work really hard to get those videos for you. And please let us know if there are any tips that you recommend for us or for the other people in our soap community. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Bye.